Howdy shipmates, it's Patrick again. Welcome back to the Trekkie Gamer. I should technically be working on a paying gig right now, but I'm at kind of a standstill on that, so I'm going to do this overdue video to clear one part of my brain out and hopefully kickstart the other. And so, welcome back. Before we go on, of course, thank you as always to all of you who subscribe. Nearly 350 of you. Do all the YouTube things, like and subscribe and tell your friends and comment, ask questions. And I'm hoping that there will be a lot of questions to ask and answer in this one, because today we are getting back into the build the future series that I had started a few weeks ago and then got interrupted by all sorts of life just kept getting in the way, but we've got that taken care of now. So let me make sure everything is up and running the way it is supposed to be, which is, not always how things work around here. If you've been with the channel for any length of time, you know that's the truth. All right, make sure I've got everything that I want where I want it. This new mic boom and everything is going to take a little getting used to, but I'm hoping that some of the settings I've got going are making things a little easier to understand that my audio is better. That's the word I'm looking for. Audio. Ha 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 ha. Okay. So I've got everything more or less where it needs to be. So let's just get going. All right, what we're going to be doing today is there are a lot of 32nd century space frames in the canon, just because they can throw out all of these ships and they can all look different. Most of them have been named, a couple of them haven't. Almost none of them have any kind of game stats. So I'm kind of dividing the 32nd century space frames that I'm going to be working with into a couple of different videos. This one is going to deal with the ones that have stats in Captain's Log, because that I can reverse engineer into a space frame pretty easily. Some of the others we're going to have to look at things and take a couple of wild guesses. But the first thing we're going to do this is we are going to get into Captain's Log. If I can get my buttons to work here. There we go, buttons are working. Okay, we're going to bring up the first thing, Captain's Log, and take a quick gander at what we've got going on. So we've got 5 starships, 5 starship classes that are statted out at least partially. I mean, obviously they don't have talents and stuff, because that's part of what you do when you're putting things together in Captain's Log, and it's not quite the same. So what we're going to do is we are going to make space frames out of these. We're going to start with the Angelou class. And if you will give me a moment, I'm going to copy some numbers into Excel, because I don't always trust my math. So Excel helps keep me honest. Now there are fewer system points. You know, before I go too far, let me change my mind here for a moment about what we're looking at. Let's take a quick look at a thing I did when I was making my Shax class escort a few weeks ago. I created this table. It's actually the extension for the table that comes in Utopia Planitia. And one of the things that Aaron Pollier, our resident ship guru, told me was that about the year 2700, the beginning of the 28th century, things kind of reset on the number of system points that were available to a ship, also the step in time. So we are going to take a look at everything we've got going on. So for a scale 4 ship, which is the baseline for this table, it's going to have 39 system points. And actually, that's the baseline, so scale 5 would have 40. Now, the Angelou class that we were just looking at, you'll notice that it is scale 5. All right. So the Angelou is going to have 40 system points if it was built in 2700, but we don't really know when this class came into existence. We do know that it's pre-burn. So for the sake of designing this thing a little while, we're going to give it well, we'll worry about the launch date in a minute, but here are the basic stats. Now, I have transferred these into Excel, and there's that 40, so we know. Ignore this. I'm working on updating things for second edition. For purposes of designing these space frames, though, let's say that the Angelou was built in, it's probably the oldest. I'm going to say it was built at the very beginning of the 31st century, so say 3005. Which leaves us 6 system points. Now, this is all assuming that the baseline is actually 2700, as I am surmising. Aaron kind of confirmed that based on the text of the MTech talent trait, the design feature that gives you an extra die on ship assists and things like that. I could be completely wrong. But I'm going to proceed as if I am absolutely correct, and Aaron's been holding out on me since Captain's Log came out. Sorry, Aaron. I don't make the rules. That's just how these things work. I'm going to have to stun you. Okay, let's get back to this. So for a couple of things that we need to do, we need to figure out where these 6 points are going to go. Now let's take a look once again at the description for the Angelou. Intended initially as deep space colonization ships. The Angelou class vessels are designed to run a large enclosed biosphere capable of reproducing any number of planetary conditions found in the worlds of the Federation. So, structure, as you can see, is important. Its sensors are important. Comms are important. There's 6 points. I am just going to evenly divide those among the 6 systems. So there it is. Starts with 877897. Now, so let's take a look once again at the description for the Angelou. Okay, the Angelou class intended initially as deep space colonization ships. The Angelou class vessels are designed around a large enclosed biosphere capable of reproducing any number of planetary conditions found on the worlds of the Federation. So, I mean, you can see where the emphasis is put. You know, sensors are important, comms are important, structure is the most important thing incorporated here. You'll also notice on the departments how everything is very, very even. There's only one mission profile that's going to give you that even a distribution, because your space frame will give you 3 points in departments and everything else comes from the mission profile. So the mission profile is 2s straight across. You can see where the +1 for each, the +1 to departments for the space frame came from here in engineering, science, and medicine. We'll get to that in just a second. Well, actually, let's look at the space frames right now, because that'll be easy to figure things out. So here are those, and we're doing everything out of Utopia Planitia because Captain's Log was a couple of years ago, and the 2nd edition rules hadn't come out yet. So we're going to use the mission profiles out of the Utopia Planitia book. And when I write these things up, when I write the example starships up, because the space frames are going to work just fine out of Utopia Planitia, it's the mission profiles that are different in 2nd edition. And when I write up the example spacecraft for this document that I'm working on that I'm going to send over to Michael Dismuke at Continuing Mission when it's done. I'll use the second edition mission profiles, and I'll make sure there's a note in there saying, hey, this is, you know, these are using second edition mission profiles, because there are a couple of differences. But the mission profile that we're going to be looking at allotted in this video, because 3 of the 5 starships in Captain's Log use the multi-role explorer, and you can tell because everything is so very even. It's 2s straight across in multi-role explorer. So let's get back into Excel so that I can do my math. Okay, Aaron's been holding out on me. I've got 6 points here, and I'm just going to spread them evenly across, since there's 6 of them and there are 6 systems. I'll just give everything a 1-point boost. We'll keep the same relative values as in Captain's Log. And then we will go through here and we will put in the values from the mission profile, and there you see +1s in engineering, science, and medicine for the Angelou class. So 3005, I'm going to go now into my publisher document that's going to be doing all the page layout for me. There we go. All right. So that's wrong. Because I'm just using an old ship to create my format. Engineering was +1. Science was +1. And medicine was +1. She's scale 5. Tractor beam is going to be strength 4. And I'm going to leave her armed because she's a colonization ship. But she's got to be able to take care of herself out where other people may not be able to help all the time. She may have some escorts, which, you know, hey, I created one of those. I'll link a video right up here where you can find that, and you can find the first edition stat sheet for the Shax class over at Continuing Missions. I'll leave a link for that in the description. So let's get her systems in there real fast. Make sure I'm reading this right. Okay. 8, 7, 7. 7. Learn to type. 8, 9, and 7. I don't know what special rules to apply here. I will worry about that some other time. doesn't really need them to the best of my knowledge. But I could be wrong. So let's jump back into Utopia Planitia and take a look at some talents. A lot of these have certain prerequisites, like advanced research facilities. You have to have a specific science score. If it's got a department score prerequisite, I don't put it on the Spaceframes because there's no guarantee that you're going to reach that after you apply a mission profile. But I can, for instance, I can see the Angelou having high resolution sensors. So let's get back in there. Because if you're colonizing, you're going to want to be able to pick things out. Is that hyphenated? Really, one is all it has to have. You have to take one talent from your mission profile and any talents that are associated with the space frame, and then you can just pretty much go to town. So let's get back to the talents list. Here's another one I think would be really helpful to a colony. Something to help your survivability. Improved hull integrity. And I like the idea of these ships being able to have a lot of shuttles going at a, because they're very big, and I can see small craft being very important on colonization missions. So let's get back to this one more time. We're just going to keep going back and forth because that's what we do around here. There's a lot of back and forthing because I like to. So we're going to give it extensive shuttle bays. And improved hull integrity. And for the moment, by the time I get this thing finished and ready for release, this may have changed. But for the moment, I'm not giving any of these ships in particular special rules, because I'm really wanting some of these to be as compatible as with first edition as possible. And while they had special rules in first edition, they weren't as widely spread. So many ships in second edition, have those, and I think I'm just going to skip that for the time being. By the time you see this turning up a continuing mission, this might have changed, but as I usually do, I'll probably throw a video together when I get ready to release it and show you a little more about what this is going to be. And these may be involved. But that's it for the Angelou class. So let's move on to the next ship we've got going here. This is another pre-burn ship. The Eisenberg class, named after the late, great Aaron Eisenberg, who played Nog in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. May he rest in peace. Now, this had a kind of a dual mission, because it's meant to project diplomatic power and martial strength as necessary. But it is clearly not built with this command is a 4 on this bad boy, and the engineering is a 3, but everything else is a 2. Now that is not the multi-role explorer with its emphasis on diplomacy and such. It's actually operating on the... Oops, let's get back into mission profiles for a second. It is actually strategic and diplomatic ops, because there you see the command's got a 3. Con only has a 1, and everything else is a 2. So let us do a little bit of stat filling in. Hold on just a moment. Okay, here are the Eisenberg's stats. I don't think it was as old as the Angelou, but it was another one that we saw go boom in a Discovery flashback during the burn. So it was obviously a 31st century ship. Let's call this one 3045, which still gives us 6. So we're going to once again evenly distribute those. All right, then we're going to go in and take out the diplomatic and strategic ops scores. Everything else is 2s. All right, so the Eisenberg's department modifiers for the space frame are a 1 in command, a 1 in con, and a 1 in engineering. And her updated stats are 888777. So we'll get into the publisher doc with my space frame layouts. There's the launch year of 3045. She is a scale 4. That's right, I did not set those up that way. I'm going to have to click on those individually. That's kind of silly of me. Now her bonus Weaknesses are in command. Helps if you hit the right button, Patrick. And she does not have a bonus in security. She's got command, con, and engineering. Kind of leave the weapons alone. Update the tractor beam strength. And then talents. So let's get into Utopia. And start looking at possible. I'm only going to give this one like 2 talents. And it's a diplomatic ship, so I want to have... I was thinking command ship, but it's got a system prerequisite. But diplomatic suites does not. Let's find one more, and we'll just go. So we're going to put diplomatic suites in there. Now we could give it electronic warfare. A high power tractor beam, that's not really its forte. Improved damage control is interesting. A regenerative hull would be kind of interesting as well, but I don't know enough about it. There's no way I'm giving it a slim sensor silhouette. I mean, have you looked at the thing? Just in case you haven't. Since it's... Oh, wait, we got into stations stuff all of a sudden. It looks like... No, these are all still ship systems. What am I missing? Oh, because space station starts right there. No wonder I'm having... No wonder I'm having some interesting look at things. Okay, let's get back here a little bit. That's going to come in handy for other classes later, but I don't think for this one. Let's give this one let's do the improved damage control thing. Yeah, improved damage control and diplomatic suites. Again, we've got so little canonical information on these things that a lot of this is just me going, hey, this is what I want in the ship. Which I hope is how you're running your game, because it's your game and you should be putting in the things that you want. Okay, again, we're skipping special rules. Again, we're saving while we're thinking about it. So again, back to Captain's log. And here's my baby, the Seneschal, the friendship class. Now this just comes right out and says it, multi-role explorer. So we know that this is the multi-role explorer mission package. We also know the scale is wrong. I've spoken to both Jim Johnson and Aaron about it, and they say it's coming out in an upcoming errata document. This should actually be scale 3, because if you look at this, it adds up to not 39, but 38. My mistake there. But it's a multi-role explorer and cruiser. It's intended to maintain tradeways and keep communications open during the time of the burn. Precedes the burn. So I'm going to say it probably came online in the same general time frame as the Eisenberg, somewhere in the 3040s in the 31st century. So let's get her stats into the spreadsheet. 667766. Whoops, I guess I should clean those out. No, because with it being in the same year, it's going to have the same number of upgrade points. So we'll just leave those in place. And 6 is 44. Okay, great. Let's get her departments in there. Two, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2. And pull out the multi-role explorer, which leaves the friendship classes department bonuses at +1 con, +1 engineering, and +1 science. Hers are... Oh, wait, don't tab, Patrick. That won't work. That won't work at all. Okay, there we go. All right, and her departments are con, engineering, and science. All right, but she is a scale 3, so we got that part right. Her track beam is going to be right. And she's only going to get 1 talent. Something I decided for the Seneschal in my Captain's Log actual play, which I will be getting back to one of these days. Life has been really busy. But what I am giving The space frame for the friendship class is advanced sensor suites. And that is that for that. She's got phaser arrays. I figure quantum torpedoes are probably standard. We don't know. You never really see torpedoes in the 32nd century episodes of Disco. So I'm guessing. Okie dokie. Let's save. So back into Captain's Log we go, and our next ship is the Janeway. Now it is a state-of-the-art craft, according to this. There's some controversy. I think we saw at least one of these go boom in a burn flashback, but I'm just going to do everything I can from the basics provided here in Captain's Log. Which tells us that it's a state-of-the-art deep space explorer. Now, in the show, the Voyager J is a Janeway class starship. And the Voyager, while it's not a standard class feature, the Voyager has been fitted with the new pathway drive, which we don't really know much about, but we do know that it is not dependent upon dilithium, which is one of the reasons it was developed. The Pathfinder, in fact, turned out to be the preferred non-dilithium drive system for Starfleet, beating out the spore drive from the Discovery itself, mostly because of the at least perceived need to have the tardigrade DNA integrated into a pilot, or have your pilot be an empath. So what we're going to do is our usual thing. Now, we're going to say this is state-of-the-art, so it's post-burn. It's probably less than 5 years old by the time... we're going to say it's less than 5 years old when Discovery shows up in like 3188. So we're going to say that it was in 3183. So let's get its data transferred over into the Excel sheet. And we're going to get rid of these because these numbers might be changing. Okay, so the Janeway has got 767865. It is a lover, not a fighter. There are 39 starting points for a 2700 ship. Let's see what her departments are before I jump down here. 2222342. Also not a multi-role explorer. Okay, so now we determined it was just for Corinne, so easy math, we're going to say 3180. Which means she's got 9 points that have not been assigned. Now they're not, refits per se. These are the baselines for these. So, okay, so there's 3 left to go. Obviously, her sensors are very important. Engines and her comps. We're just going to lean into the strengths that she had. But there are her systems. So let's get out of Excel for a second. Back into Utopia. And take a quick look at mission profiles one more time, because the Janeway is clearly not a multi-role explorer just by the distribution of her points. She was built with the scientific and survey operations mission profile for Captain's Log 211332. So let's two, 1, 3. You know what helps? If you type these things incorrectly, let's look at this again. Look us in 2, 3, 4, 2. Did I type those in right? Okay, so I'm obviously typing something wrong because you can't have a -1. So let's try this again. Let me look at, shoot the heck I'm doing. Oh, I see what I did wrong. Okay, so here are her con, security, and science. Are her department bonuses. All right, so there's that. Now, as soon as this thing goes up, I'm sure Aaron's going to be sitting there going, okay, you got this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. He's very supportive. I know I joke about it a lot, but Aaron is actually very supportive. He's been a great help as I've worked on all these little personal projects of mine. So the Janeway is a scale 4. So 979. And a 6. Weapons really not her strong suit, although she's got a good security. She's got 1 in comm, 1 in security, and 1 in science. So let's fix that. Alright, fix her tractor beam strength. Alright, let's get out of mission profiles. We don't really have to go back to that, but we do. Need to look at talents. Scale 4, I'm going to give her 2, just like I did with the Eisenberg, but she's going to get some very different things. Let's see here. What is she going to get, though? She's another one that I could see getting advanced sensor suites because of her scientific mission. Let's see. No, not going to give her dedicated personnel. I am, however, going to give her improved warp drive. What else do we want to give her? Oh my goodness. The decisions, and I am not doing a real good job of keeping things interesting because I am easily distracted while I'm flipping through all these. You know, the original Voyager had a thing with shuttles. She had a lot of shuttles. Lots and lots of shuttles. So I'm going to say that the Janeway class has extensive shuttle bays. Just because it seems appropriate to me. So she has extensive shuttle bays. And improved warp drive, because that's one of the reasons she was designed. So we're going to save. That leaves us one ship, guys. The Kirk class. The core for Starfleet battle squadrons. It is a battle cruiser. And it has taken lessons from multiple polities, martial traditions that have been integrated into 32nd Century Federation. Now, we saw the broken hulk of one of these things in the first episode of Discovery Season 3, so we know that it was pre-burn. But if we assume the burn was in 3080, this one might be newer than a couple of the other ships. Let's call this one, once we get back into our spreadsheet. Okay, so we've cleared this out. We're going to call this one a little newer than some of the other ones. It's going to have 7 extra points up here. As usual, we're jumping ahead of ourselves. It's sadly what I do sometimes. Now it's got 7 points to spread out, so we're going to follow the pattern that we've been following, just evenly distribute those. Now, I could improve its weapons because that's its strong suit, but it is a battle cruiser. I'm going to improve its structure. All right, let's get her departments in. Two, 3, 3, 2, 2. Now, even though this one's described as a battle cruiser, you'll notice how even these stats are. So that's a multi-role explorer. With her bonuses in command, security, and engineering. There's that. Let's get into publisher. Okay, and it's 3070. Quick. Yeah, I did change the year on the Janeway. Good for me. Okay. Let's fix its tractor beam while I am thinking about it. Now, this is the only one that I'm going to actually put a special rule on. But I'll get to that in a minute. Unlike all the others except maybe the Angelou, the Kirk does not have, or does not appear to have, detached nacelles. It seems to be a kind of a solid, conventional struts and all. It also appears to have a connected saucer. So hold that thought while we get this stuff taken care of. Its systems are 778789. And its departments were command, security, and engineering, which is what I've got here. Oh, cool. Yay me. Okay, so talents. And since it's scale 4, I'm going to limit it to 2, so it can take at least one, maybe, I try not to overload mandatory stuff so you can make the ships a little more your own as you do this thing. So let us, we are done in here with Captain's Log. Thank you so much, Captain's Log, for providing us with things to do. So let's get back to the beginning of the talent section. Okie dokie. What would be useful here? Advanced shields. Well, she is described as a battle cruiser, so I can see that being a thing. I'm going to put that down. While I'm thinking about it, you can't see it because we're still... But it'll be there when we get back to the publisher doc. So let one more talent here. No, no. High power. No, no. All right, let's... You know, this is something that the Constitution class has had. I'm going to call this, say this thing has got a rugged design. So let's get back into the publisher doc one last time here. And there's the advanced shield, and we're going to give it rugged design. Now, the special what I was talking about earlier is I'm not saying that this thing has got saucer separation and reconnect, because really that's probably old hat by the 32nd century. And there is the Kirk class. So guys, as far as this video is concerned, we are finished. And I know this is a long one, and guys, I appreciate you hanging out to the end. Thank you so much. I've got the basics designed. I'm going to get all the fluff typed up in the next few days in between working on the paying gig that I was talking about. And as soon as I get it done and proofed and all that happy jazz, that I am going to get it over to Michael Dismuke. And again, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I never seem to say it enough, but wouldn't still be doing this if there weren't people who said, hey, this is good stuff, thank you. And I appreciate that. Again, let's do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, comment. I know there's going to be questions, so please throw questions into the comments, and live long and prosper. And I will see you in the next one.